Hello and welcome to the Deepdale podcast. I'm Jason and it's April 2024. Thanks for listening to our little slice of North Norfolk life. We hope that you're managing to enjoy the wonders of spring somewhere beautiful and that the weather is giving you both time outdoors and excuses to enjoy a local hostelry or cafe. This month I headed east from Deepdale into North Norfolk to visit two of the premier attractions in this beautiful part of the world, North Norfolk Railway and Wroxham Barns. Both are long-standing parts of the local tourism industry, and it was great to find out more about their offering and history. Before we dive into steam trains, crafts and cute animals, there have been lots of additions to the events programme, in particular rural craft workshops on Deepdale Farm. More additions to the street food we are hosting, and hundreds of additional events have been added from all over North Norfolk and West Norfolk. You can see full listings on our website at deepdalecamping.co.uk/events. Deepdale Farm are hosting their Open Farm Sunday event on Sunday the 2nd of June. It's a free event themed farming with nature and is a great chance to visit the organic farm, explore their machinery, find out about invertebrates, bats and birds, and have a go at green woodworking or enjoy a guided farm walk. Head to deepdalefarm.co.uk for more information and to book tickets. The accommodation on site for Deepdale Festival 2024 is all sold out, but day tickets are available and we are working with lots of local accommodation. Full details are on the festival website, deepdalefestival.co.uk. And lastly, a reminder that the Pantaloons join us again this summer with their wonderful open-air theatre. This year we'll be hosting their hilarious versions of The Importance of Being Earnest on Wednesday the 12th of June and The Merry Wives of Windsor on Thursday the 22nd of August. To book tickets and for more information, go to deepdalecamping.co.uk/theatre. Enjoy the listen, and we hope to see you very soon.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, a fistful of samphire, sea, lavender, see you next year.
So I'm going to get you both to introduce yourselves.
I'm Graham Hewkins, General Manager at the North Norfolk Railway.
And I'm Hannah Drury, Visitor Experience and Marketing Manager at the Poppy Line.
So I am with Graham and Hannah, and I am standing on a steam train, which is not my usual place for recording the Deepdale podcast. It is lovely to be on here. It's the North Norfolk Railway, which runs from Sheringham to Holt, or as do people in Holt say, it runs from Holt to Sheringham. I guess it kind of depends on which end of the line you live in. And if you live in Weybourne, that's the centre of the universe as far as this railway is concerned. But these guys run the most amazing, how would you describe them? Aged trains, ancient trains, historical trains?
Heritage trains is what we usually call them. So yes, we've got steam trains dating from Victorian times to right through to the 1960s, and then some heritage diesels that were built in the 50s and 60s as well. And we run those side by side on about 250 days a year.
Fantastic. So if you're driving along the coast between Holt and Sheringham, you'll often see the steam arising somewhere off to the side of the road, and you'll see a big steam train coming past. And in Christmas, you can come and visit Santa with this, and they have the most amazing light trains that run through the countryside as well. And you've probably seen the amazing photographs. How long has this been a heritage railway? When did it stop being a commercial railway?
So the line closed to passengers in 1964, so 60 years ago, and reopened to Preserved Railway in 1975. So next year is our 50th anniversary.
Kind of what sort of visitor numbers do you get through the year? It must be significant numbers because people both local and far away come and join you.
That's right, yeah. People from all over the country and indeed from overseas come to see us. We have about 150,000 visitors that we welcome every year.
And I think, Hannah, you got volunteered to answer this question. As we've been host to a couple of films and stuff, people are fascinated by the film and TV that kind of appear, and everybody thinks of Harry Potter and things like that here. But what TV shows would people recognise that have been filmed here?
Yes, so there's actually quite a range of popular sitcoms actually that have been filmed at the Poppy Line. So mostly around Weybourne Station, which is sort of our country station. Each station has its own identity. Weybourne was built in around 1901, I believe. And yes, so several popular sitcoms have been filmed there, including Dad's Army. There was a whole episode called The Royal Train, if viewers are interested in watching that. And also LOLO and Heidi High as well. And it's interesting, we've got an upcoming event that sort of celebrates Weybourne's role as a filming location that happens in May every year. So don't worry if you can't come this year. In future years, we will still be celebrating that important role for the station. And it's great actually, talking to some local people recently, they've said, oh yes, when they've actually met cast members of when they were originally filming those TV series, which is just wonderful to hear those stories.
See, there's three main stations, that's right, Holt, Sheringham and Weybourne in the middle. And which line was this when it used to be part of the national network?
So it was opened by the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway, which is a bit of a mouthful. So opened in 1887, ran from Melton Constable through Holt to Sheringham, and unusually was actually built to bring tourists to Poppyland, because the kind of Victorian boom in seaside holidays had happened, and the promoters of the line thought that opening to Sheringham and the lovely beaches and coast would be a great way to make lots of money and bring lots of traffic to the railway. So Sheringham was a tiny village until the railway arrived, and Sheringham grew up as a Victorian resort from kind of the late 1880s onwards.
So was this line connected, because I know we nearer us we had the line that used to go to Hunstanton from King's Lynn, and you could catch the train all the way to Hunstanton from the Midlands. Could you catch a train literally all the way to Sheringham?
Absolutely, yes. So the line through Hunstanton went down to Melton Constable, and from there lines fanned out to Norwich and Great Yarmouth, and then this one to Sheringham, which then linked onwards to Cromer, and obviously the bit from Sheringham to Cromer stays open to this day.
You're open much of the year, but I guess there's quite a lot of special events in the calendar.
Yes, absolutely. So we're, like you say, we're open for 7 days a week most of the year, but interspersed throughout the year we have lots of events. Some, like I said, celebrating particular stations. Some are very intense on-track activities, so that's when we might have visiting locomotives, both steam and heritage diesel, which is wonderful. We love having things from other lines come. It's just such a special opportunity. But yes, and then we also have lots, so like our Steam Back to the 40s weekend, that's been going for several decades now, and it's just wonderful to see everyone really get involved with the towns as well, particularly around that event. And then, like you say, also Christmas is huge for us, and we love welcoming all of the families on our Santa specials, and also the Norfolk Lights Express.
And who came up with the idea of the Norfolk Lights Express? I just think that's just a fabulous idea, seeing this amazingly lit up train heading through the countryside.
So that was trialled at a couple of other heritage railways, and then offered to us to host in East Anglia back in 2019, so before either of us arrived here. But so started with a few displays along the side of the line and the illuminated train and then the spotlights on the train that light up the countryside. But each year that's developed further with an onboard soundtrack and narration and music and more displays along the line each year. So it's one of those things that grows, and we keep the favourite bits and add more, and it's become a whole new tradition in its own right.
Yeah, and the 1940s weekend that happened sort of based primarily around Sheringham, isn't it? But it seems to be a lot more stuff happening, right down the line and in Holt and in Weybourne as well. Did that start with the railway line and then develop into a town thing, or was it the other way around?
Yes, well, yeah, like I say, it's been going for several decades, obviously, yeah. Slightly before my time, I've only been here for a few short years. But, so it was originally sort of put on by the railway as a special event, and like you say, it's just really grown from there. So yeah, there's always activities at each station. We like to have a bit of a theme, a different theme for every station, so that visitors can hop off and really sort of explore that area and then hop back on another train that's running and go to the next station. So see different displays, different exhibitions, different live music. The music is just so wonderful. There's so many talented artists that we have with us every year. But yeah, and it is absolutely brilliant to see how the towns just do get involved. And I know that particularly some of the parades they run are just, it's such a wonderful addition to how we work together.
So we're standing next to the engine before it heads out. You were just explaining, I stupidly said, there's an engineer, but you were saying that there's a slightly different terms in the UK. That's a very American term.
Yeah, so engineer you see on the kind of old Wild West films where the engineer's driving the train. In Britain it was simply driver and fireman, and then occasionally we'll have a cleaner on board who's kind of cleans the engine in the morning, helps prepare it, and then is really a trainee fireman.
And you were saying that while we were chatting before we sort of started the podcast that you have a huge number of people helping out on this railway line. Unbelievable number. So what sort of numbers are we talking about?
So all in all we have around 650 volunteers that help keep everything going. So that's everything from driving the trains to helping prepare the sandwiches in the cafe, to serving in the shop, to clipping the tickets, and everything in between in the engineering works behind the scenes. And then they're supported by around 40 to 50 paid staff, the glue that holds everything together, really.
So it's an incredible piece of work to put all of this together, and I think it's just seeing the passion of the guys who run it. And there was a big celebrations a few years back, wasn't there, when this railway line got connected with the main railway line, which is literally across a tiny bit of road, but I think must have been one of the biggest headaches for everybody involved trying to get all the paperwork done. But it now means that visiting trains can arrive much more easily rather than being craned in and such like.
That's right, yes. So we are now reconnected back to the national network. That was actually 14 years ago in 2010, and even now kind of you get a lump in your throat where you see the old photos of that and the thousands of people that turned out to see the day that we were reconnected. And for some of the events, as Hannah mentioned, that's where some of the visiting engines, particularly the heritage diesels, would come via the main line, because quite often they're still working with some freight companies doing what they were designed to do kind of every day. They're still working hard 60 years later, and then they kind of come to visit us. People can travel behind them. Most of the visiting steam engines aren't allowed to run on the mainline railway, so they would still have to come by low loader, unfortunately. But
I guess any breakdowns, and there's not exactly many coal stops on a normal railway line these days.
No, and most of these are only allowed to run at 25 miles an hour, so you'd kind of be queued up from Norwich to Liverpool Street if you put one of these out.
Yeah, that's it. There we go. So what's this train called?
So So this train is number 22, and like Graham said, it arrived with us very, very recently actually. So it's within its first couple of weeks of running, which is brilliant. We've had lots of people come and really interested in photographing it and riding behind it. And yeah, it will be a great addition for us this year.
Fantastic. And how long will that be with you?
So that will be with us for the rest of our season.
And you were saying you work with another charity who own quite a lot of the locomotives, and they're based at Weybourne.
Yeah, but broadly based at Weybourne. They're the Midlands and Great Northern Joint Railway Society, so they look to kind of keep the old railway alive and talk about the history and heritage of that, and they own a number of the locomotives here and some of the carriages, including we've got a set of carriages built for the London and North Eastern Railway 100 years ago, absolutely unique because they're a set of 4 that are articulated, so you can't uncouple them. They run as a set of 4 all the time. Beautiful teak-bodied carriages.
So that was very modern, because that's like you see the tubes now, isn't it? Kind of where they're basically all one carriage. Wow.
Absolutely, and designed for London, for the suburbs, so that by doing that you could get more compartments in the same length of train, and you were governed by the length of train by the platforms in the stations there. And that was Sir Nigel Gresley, one of the kind of earlier items of rolling stock that he designed. So they're celebrating their 100th anniversary. The society also own a Victorian train, or a train of Victorian carriages, so 4 of those, all built in Victorian times and used at various points in their lives as either houses or sheds, or one was an onion store for many years and now restored, put back on wheels and still going strong 150 or so years later. So again, those 2 trains would come out on kind of high days and holidays and at some of the special events, but again, absolutely superb to see those in action.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for showing me this wonderful part of the North Norfolk world. Where do people head to if they want to know more information about the railway, events, all that sort of thing? What's the best port of call?
So our website is probably the first port of call I would recommend. So that's just www.nnrailway.co.uk. So you can find details about all the timetables that we run, the dates that we're open, anything about special events. Also some of our details on our rolling stock. So if you're particularly interested in some of the locomotives we have or some of the carriages and wagons we have, we've got information on there. And yeah, otherwise check out our social media. We'll often post when sort of big updates, so when things go on sale. So we've already had inquiries about Christmas, so if you are keen to know about our Christmas events, then do keep an eye on our social media, because anything will be released there.
So tickets aren't on sale just for that yet. They'll be in due course.
Yes. Yeah, so they're not available just yet, but yes, very, very shortly, probably June or July time, so do keep an eye out.
One other thing to mention on the website, it's always worth checking it out, because if you book in advance you get a discount.
Excellent. Yeah, so if you can turn up on the day, if it's not sold out, you can buy tickets. So if you just happen to be visiting and you think, oh, that would be nice, but as you say, if you book in advance, you get discounts. So it's definitely worth, if you can, plan ahead. So, well, thank you so much, both of you. Really lovely to have you on the podcast. Definitely come and visit this place. The route down to Holt is worth doing. You can then have a wander. So you can catch it either way, I guess. You could get on at Holt and come to Sheringham, have a wander round, and then head back, or vice versa. There's car parking at both stations, isn't there? Yeah, so yeah, easy car parking and access, and it's wheelchair accessible. You've got options for that as well. We look forward to many return visits to this wonderful part of North Norfolk. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
I am sitting in the tea rooms at Wroxham Barns, a tourist attraction that is possibly not on the regular track for many of those staying at Deepdale, but it's somewhere that I've been to many times, mainly thanks to the hospitality of the man that's sitting opposite me, Ian. It's sort of reminiscent and connections with what we do at Deepdale, with our pop-up shops and our shops at Dalegate Market and our cafe and all of that kind of thing, except that it's got some lovely lambs as well that we don't have. and pigs and various other bits and pieces, and it's in a very different part of the Norfolk countryside. So welcome to the podcast, Ian. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's really nice to have the opportunity to chat to you and through you to the Deepdale customers and visitors. So we're at the top end of the Broads, the northern bit of the Broads. So we're a hop and a skip from Deepdale. It'll take about 45 minutes or so, maybe a smidge longer. It's a very nice drive. You come through Aylsham and Melton Constable, and you'll find yourself at Wroxham Barns. It's a really nice place to come visit for the day. You can visit Coltishall and Wroxham and Horning. So I hope people will take the chance to look at that map and have a taste of the Broads, including a visit to Wroxham Barns.
Well, it's a great part of the Norfolk countryside to explore, isn't it? And you've been here for Wroxham Barns has been here for a while. Yeah, I think you were one of the founders of it, weren't you? When did it come about, and how did it come about? You know, where did the whole idea come from?
Well, so I'm aged 25 and 3/4. This is back in 1982, and I'm a boat builder. I'm not a very good one, but I'm a boat builder, and that's what I trained as. And with a colleague, we had this nuts idea that we would buy this derelict farm just outside Wroxham, and we would build boats here. And indeed, for the first 10 years, we did build boats here. And the notion was that people would come and see us making these beautiful wooden boats, and this was, in a sense, industrial tourism. Now, that and that alone was never going to be viable, but the notion of that this would be a place where things were made, that had legs. That was an idea. So we were a forerunner of the craft centre complex, but we never ever call ourselves a craft centre, because I think that is too narrow a descriptive. And people say, oh, I don't really like crafts. But do you like nice things for your home? Well, I absolutely do. Well, then you could like things that are made for you and made by craftsmen and artists, what we now describe as designer makers. So we started off as a shopping destination. That was it. But with a wider appeal than the archetypal concept of a craft centre. We soon realised that families, if you're going to have a wide appeal, then you need to have a wider offer. And we therefore added a children's fair and a children's farm in the early 90s. And so the over 41 years, Wroxham Barns has developed along two tracks. We say, great for kids, it is. Great for grown-ups, always has been and still is. So it is a shopping destination. It's a place where you can just discover at your own pace, you can park for free, and you can just drift around. If you want and you have children, the Farm and the Fun Park is now a pay once, play all day offer, and it's really good. We've got 20 acres. We have lambs, calves, piglets, goats, ponies, donkeys, alpacas, with a full programme each and every day for people to enjoy. And then on the fun part, we've got a miniature golf, we've got a train, we've got bouncing pillows, we've got fairly fancy sand play set up, some rides as well. So it's a full day if you want it to be so. Really lovely covered picnic area. And in the summer we have a maze. We grow 10,000 pumpkins for the Pumpkin Festival. Some really good events. We have a Meet the Farmer, a 2-day event in May. 2 firework events, low bang fireworks. We sort of made that our own unique event. Potato picking all through September. Lots going on. But it absolutely is great for kids, great for grown-ups. And I think there is an interesting observation, more so than ever, that visitors to this part of the world are multi-generational. So it's grandparents, parents, kids, and sometimes then extended families. So, and they operate as a group. So come in 2 cars maybe, and they all have different expectations and aspirations for what they want out of their day. And therefore a day which is exclusively, well, this is for the kids, I'm not sure that necessarily flies anymore or to the same extent. So we play on that. Look, you will all come and you will all enjoy it. There's something for each and every one of you, from Granny, a great sewing shop, lovely deli, a really nice clothes shop as well, art gallery, dotty pottery, all sorts going on, and obviously kids as well.
You've been a stalwart of the tourism industry in Norfolk. You and I have sat in many great meetings and some very turgid ones as well. You've seen the tourism industry develop and grow particularly in this part of Norfolk, but in Norfolk generally, and it's fascinating how things have progressed and developed, isn't it? And the size of some of the attractions around us, but somehow you've found your niche and you've continued to sort of exist amongst all of those other things.
Yeah, I've always believed in collaboration. The fact that you and I have known each other for so long, attractions need to work together, and they need to work with other elements that make up the visitor experience. So attractions are nothing without accommodation providers. So we need to, be super friendly and work with and understand you good folk at Deepdale and your accommodation offer in its various forms, and the guys on the Broads who let out the boats and the riverside cottages and the bigger holiday parks. The whole thing needs to mesh together. It's no good having a beautiful lodge and they go for a day out to an attraction which is appallingly badly run. The net effect is that's a bad experience. We all need to be working together, glued together, and hopefully with an understanding of sense of place, the destination. Now I started out doing this when I was 25, and I knew nothing then. I don't know much more now. What I do know is what I don't know, and therefore I need to work collaboratively. So I've always believed that we're better together, and the more you put into collaborative working, the more you'll get out of it.
Yeah. Cooperative working is the name of the game, and I guess that's sort of where really this podcast has come from, is wanting to kind of show to other those who know us at Deepdale, this wider world that's out there in terms of tourism. So we've talked to artisans and producers, and we've talked to musicians and attractions and stuff, and it's and now I'm sort of throwing the net wider, because I think actually our customers are travelling further. Although they're coming to Deepdale, they're wanting to explore Norfolk as a wider thing, and the world is getting smaller, isn't it? So I remember my parents driving me to Tavenham Hall School and thinking it was the other end of the world, and then I met my wife and I was driving to Norwich for dinner, so it's amazing how the world's got smaller. In terms of you're opening all year round, and then various events in the diary?
Yeah, so right from the start, I always believed in open every day, free parking, free to enter. Now, to an extent, we've been true to that. We do close elements of the visitor attraction as we prepare for our Christmas event. So, and then we have to close a bit of January to unpack Christmas. Christmas is huge, by the way, for us. It's a very, very significant enterprise now. I think I believe in all year round tourism. Certainly believe in shoulder month tourism. And so you have to be open. I think back in the day, with due respect to National Trust, gardens open Wednesdays, house every other Thursday, except when there's an hour in the month. Sorry, you're either open or you're not open. You got to be here. And I also think that our resident population is key. A huge proportion of the holiday makers that come to Norfolk are actually visiting friends and relatives. So they're holiday makers informed like locals. They behave like locals. They're accompanied by locals, but they're holiday makers. So you need to look after your local customer, and they live here all year round. They want days out in November and February. So you have to be open. Yeah. Yeah. I also think that a place that is very seasonal feels very seasonal.
We've definitely found at Deepdale, although yes, naturally there are less people around in January and February, because camping in January and February is a hardier exercise than it is in theory in a warm summer's day. But actually, we've definitely found that there's a real interest in coming, and the biggest attractions of our part of the world, like the wildlife, are actually almost better in the winter, and you don't have to queue up for the pubs and the all of that kind of thing, and they have the fires and the mussels are on the menu. Tell me a bit more about the Pumpkin Festival, because that sounds great.
Well, Pumpkin Festival, we love Halloween, and thank you to our friends across the water at the Americans for giving us Halloween. They gave us lots of things we didn't want, but they did give us Halloween, which we absolutely do want. Halloween's massive. It's a frightening statistic that more merchandise is sold at Halloween than at Easter. That's a very scary thought. that we are a nation of devil-worshipping heathens. But we're a daytime Halloween place because there was also the phenomenon of scare attractions. That's another world, not for us.
Yeah, I've chatted with Adam and team at Raw, and that one is not for me either. Yeah, that scares the bejesus out of me.
But Halloween and pumpkins is really big stuff. It's the busiest 10 days of the year. Wow, indeed. We have 2 pumpkin nights, so pumpkin under floodlights with bands and bars and stuff. And that's interesting. So grown-up kids, 10, 12-year-olds will absolutely want to do the pumpkin thing in the evening, more so than in the day. And we have really cute little wheelbarrows with 2 wheels for the little ones. And as I say, we have 10,000 pumpkins. In fact, we'll probably end up more like with 12,000 pumpkins. All the kids get a pumpkin within the price. We have a huge marquee all laid out with tables and supervisors for pumpkin carving, and you build a whole event around that. Of course, we live in the world in the era of Instagram. It's all about the Insta. So everything we do, and it doesn't only apply to pumpkins, everything is, where's the photo? Where's the photo? How can we make sure that people get the cute lamb photo, the cute calf photo, the cute donkey photo, the cute any photo? It's a crazy world, and people will come and they'll pay for the whole farm fun park thing, but actually what they really want is photos of the family in the pumpkin field. And 12,000 pumpkins is quite a sight.
Yeah, it looks good.
It does look bloody brilliant. And we engineer it so we have quite a lot left over, so that on the last day of our pumpkin event you still got a field of pumpkins. It's a really good family event, and it's massively popular.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add about Wroxham, this part of the world?
Well, it is a really, it's an enduring destination in any research, along with Northwest Norfolk, ho-ho. The Broads is the most, has the destination within Norfolk with the highest recall.
Yeah.
It's generations old, and it has an enduring popularity. Many more people come to the Broads by car or coach than on or in a boat. There are 650 boats on the Norfolk Broads, which have accommodation, which is less than the caravans, or the lodges rather, on your mid-size holiday park.
Yeah.
Just one of them.
The iconic image is a boat travelling down the rivers, isn't it? But actually, it's a tiny fraction of the people who visit Norfolk. And I think that's the same when you go on a canal trip. There's these canal boats going up and down, and actually, it's basically people paying to provide the Instagram photos for the people who just park up and wander up to the spot where they can take photos of the boat. I think anybody who hasn't got out there and explored the Norfolk Broads, it's really interesting how many of bird organisations and wildlife organisations that we talk to on a regular basis on the North Norfolk coast who also have huge connections with the Broads, and how interconnected those are. And actually, it feels like it's quite a long way away when you're travelling across the county, but actually, the wildlife just pops backwards and forwards as it always has done.
Yeah, I think, look, if you're going to come to Norfolk, and certainly if you're staying at Deepdale, a visit down to the Broads, and to have there are a number of ways you can easily experience life on the water. Either a passenger boat, they're really good quality, they are nicely done, they're a really good visit experience, or a day boat. There's a whole range from pretty fancy to pretty basic, and then there's paddleboarding, which is the new great thing and is enormous fun. And the stretch of the Broads from Wroxham going upstream to Colchester is a really lovely place to go paddleboarding. It's super safe. I mean, you will never find an easier place to go paddleboarding, and it's interesting. And there's nothing like just being by the water and seeing, humankind interacting with the water and nature. It is lovely. So it should be on everybody's must-do list. And of course, I'd hope that Wroxham Barns is part of that visit to the Broads. It's a really special part of the world. It's unique. It is unique as a European waterway because it's lock-free, it's natural. It's a perfect example of how mankind has interacted with nature to develop an ecosystem. because the Broads themselves are man-made.
They were dug out by hand. They've created these incredible wetlands and lakes that are all interconnected with the rivers. And so you get these incredibly beautiful parts, I think, and nature has taken them back with a bound over the centuries and created this stunning habitat that now it's really funny. If you ever said to someone, right, I'm going to dig out all of this stuff, they'd say absolutely no way, you can't have the license for that, absolutely under no circumstances. But actually when you look at what is in the Broads, and the wildlife is just absolutely incredible, isn't it, really? Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where do people head to if they want more information about Wroxham Barns?
Wroxhambarns.co.uk. You can book online, very user-friendly website, and it's all about events. There's always things going on, from simple little courses to much bigger activities. So our next big event, we are now a monthly makers market, and that's 12th of May, and then the Meet the Farmer event, big, coming together of all sorts of agri equipment, old, new, lots of demonstrations, sheep shearing, and then we're into Learn to be a Junior Farmer at Whitsun. So lots of kids activities. This is Clarkson's Farm for Kids.
Thank you for lending us your ears. We always love your company for the Deepdale podcast. If you enjoy the listen, then please do tell friends and family, and maybe even leave a review on your favourite podcast app or directory. If you subscribe, which is free, you will be notified of new episodes as they come available. And you'll see a large back catalogue of episodes stretching right back to 2018. In that time, we've chatted with some wonderful artisans, producers, musicians, attractions, and very knowledgeable people. Thanks again for listening. Hope to see you in North Norfolk again soon.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, fistful of samphire, sea, lavender, sea.